Cambridge Central Mosque, The Sacred Reimagined, is more than a book. It's an immersive look at one of the most iconic and award-winning buildings of our time. Written by Michael Glover, this beautifully designed book reveals the mosque's story through rich interviews with key community voices, stunning photography, and captivating details of its groundbreaking architecture. Celebrate a vision that redefines a British mosque for the 21st century. Proceeds from the book go towards helping our important work. Order your copy now.
Good evening, and thank you for coming to this celebration, the publication of the book. I'm only going to say a few brief words and a few personal words, if I may, in a moment about this wonderful building. I'm sorry that Julia isn't here, but Michael will be also speaking, of course, on the building. The two observations I'd make, and Tim has really already picked up on a couple of them. I've been fortunate enough to travel the world and have visited mosques in Europe, Asia, and Africa. And the Blue Mosque, yes, and in Damascus and so on. There's one mosque which I think is one of the greatest buildings, if not the greatest building in the world, which is Cordoba. Not only for what it is, but what it stands for and its history. And I was absolutely thrilled, of course, when I read in Michael's book how that was part of the inspiration for the design of this building, which you can feel immediately in terms not only of the actual visual feeling, it, but also the place. But there's another sense also in which Cordoba was remarkable. It had, of course, in its heyday, or the heyday of that particular time, it was the centre of a great civilization of learning, and also learning with scholars who were Jewish, Islamic, and Christian. Unfortunately, that period did not last forever, and still there are difficulties, certainly, in those relationships. But that's one leads me to feel the great thing about here, and now I may speak the other personal situation. I'm from the Fens, Cambridgeshire Fens, and my family is scattered all over there still as small farmholders and craftsmen, and some of them in the previous age departed for America because they couldn't worship the way they wanted. This is in a remarkable statement in a remarkable town, and a town which has a history which is not comfortable in many ways in terms of its relationships, not just between faiths, but within the Christian faith. I might just now lead on from that to mention, because both Michael and I are former students and members of Queen's College, Cambridge, which is at the centre, in many ways, of the struggles in the Henrican times and the Reformation. My Lance Humphreys is working, along with the Estelle Trust at the moment, with the team that's cataloguing its library, the old library. It's the oldest library in Cambridge, and it has magnificent collections of Islamic and collections as well as Christian, as well as many other things. And yet that's the college where John Fisher was president. That's the college where, if you're watching The Mirror and the Light at the moment, Stephen Gardner tutored a young man called John Frith, who was a brilliant scholar, who wanted a more tolerant view of religion and followed Tyndall. And I'm afraid he participated in the tribunal which sent John Frith to the stake to be burnt in Smithfield. They're just memories, as Tim has said. This is about hope and openness, among other things that one gets from it. But we are here from, there's a past as well. And this is why such a strong, to me, statement here in Cambridge. And speaking as, say, somebody who comes from this part of the world and has been visiting here since I was aged 4 with my father, going to Fitzwilliam and all the rest of it, just after the war, I think it's wonderful. Thank you, Tim, and all the people who worked to create the opportunity, and I'm sure the struggles which it took, not just with the planning department, but the purse and all the other things you have to work to be able to create a place like that. Thank you, Julia and David Marks, who's sadly no longer with us, for the creative things. And Michael, thank you for writing the book. And a great statement. For those who've mentioned, please Yes, acquire it. On page 71, you'll see a lovely photograph of Cordoba. And with that, I would thank you for being here. Thank you.